Dear Harstem, it is currently 2:28 a.m. as I'm writing this, and I just played the most grueling Terran vs Zerg of my entire life. Lurkers are completely broken, and there is no counterplay unless you max out on battlecruisers or have micro as good as Bian. This game I started off strong by opening up with a quick 3cc 2-on-1 build, always making sure to deny creep and try to do as much damage as possible. My Zerg opponent opened up with a late third, spammed spores and spines all over the few bases he had, and just sat on Hydras the entire game, while teching up the lurkers. On the opposite side of things, I was macroing up like a beast, getting my 4th, 5th, 6th base up and running, while the Zerg only had 4. I was microing my heart out with an office mouse and a laptop keyboard, and did as best as I could. I thought I didn't micro too well, but it was far more than sufficient against this Zerg that sits on 4 bases and burns economy using filthy spines and spores. As soon as I saw him building the lurker unit, I immediately got more gases up, started getting lib range, and really focused on building liberators. But guess what? It didn't matter. Nothing mattered at the end. Not my 6k, 4k bank, not my immense production, not my 3-3 bio upgrades, not my macro or micro that I tried so hard for. Nothing. The Zerg simply A-moved Hydralisk and lurkers while hitting the burrow key occasionally, and steamed rolled through my entire infrastructure and army. I couldn't even fight it. Everything just died. I'm tired and really frustrated. My Christmas night is ruined, and I have to end the day like this? I hate lurkers. I really don't get it. Please, Harstem, I plead for your help. Are lurkers IMBA? Or do I just suck? This emotional imbalance complaint form was sent in to me by Gouge, a European diamond player at 4.2k MMR, asking the simple question, are lurkers imbalanced? Or does he suck? Let's figure it out together. All right, my dear friends, here we go with Go Gno Money versus Glidrist, a Terran versus Zerg on Frostline, one of the maps which I would say is actually kind of good for Terran. I don't know if Terran players agree with me on that, but whenever I play ZVT or TVZ, it always feels like the Terran, is having quite a decent time. It's hard for the Zerg to take a 5th base. It's hard for the Zerg already to take a 4th as well. Everything is really far apart. And yes, that also sucks for Terran, but the Zerg always needs to be up in bases over the Terran. So it sucks more for the Zerg initially, at least in my opinion. Getting creep out can be quite tricky as well. Okay, he throws down a grenade. Now he's going to move down here to block a 3rd base. He didn't SCV scout, did he? No, I don't think he SCV scouted. So this is just pure blind. This is not good. I'm not a fan of this. I am not a fan of this at all. Okay, look, he looks, he's pretending like he's in control of the situation here, Scouted the 3rd base, back to the middle, sees the top, there's nothing here, how odd. It's like, it is absolutely key right now to scout for a Roach Warren. In this situation, 3 minutes in, he had seen no 3rd base yet, no clue what was going on, spent majority of his time standing at 3rd bases or potential 3rd bases, leaving the middle path open. This is what I call fake control or fake safety. It isn't real safety. This is like the guys that say that the pull-out method always works and they don't need to use a condom. Like, the only reason why it always works is because you're pulling out of your own hand. Like, if you, in the face of real adversity, if your opponent throws down a Roach Warren, sends 5 roaches across the map, like, you're gonna be paying alimony till the end of time, my dear friend. You're freaking dead. It's over. Like, you have no bunker, you have no scouting whatsoever. You pretended like you got scouting information here, but in reality, you knew nothing, or at least too little. You got lucky that your opponent ended up going for a 3rd base here. If this was a roach attack, you would already have been dead. Luckily, that's not what happened though, so we're not going to, zoom in too much on that. But it's just important to note these types of mistakes, because you can look at these replay and think to yourself, oh, I had so much control in the early game. The first 4 minutes, I knew everything that was happening. You knew nothing. You just got lucky that your opponent was doing nothing that was noteworthy either. So you kind of got away with it here, all right? But this is not legit. We're now getting double gases out in the natural. We have triple CC. 3 Marines here are going to be taking out this Overlord. I like that. Marines probably, if you're opening up with an opener that has as many Marines as you do, I don't even really think that the Overlord should be allowed to make it in like this. Like, we have how many Marines right now? We have 11 Marines. Would it have been too much to ask to have a Marine or 2 just patrolling at the edge? Maybe denying the scouting on the 3rd base? maybe making it harder for the Zerg to figure out what is going on. Like, this is not Serral, okay? This guy is not sending out links across the map to check your composition. He might not realize that Hellions are missing here, you know? You don't want to give your opponent more information than you have to. And you just gave your opponent quite a bit of information. That's okay, though. It's okay, because the position that we're in currently is still fine. We're playing triple CC. We played against someone that delayed their third base for a weird reason. We have Spores and Spines now coming up, which makes very little sense at this point in time, in my opinion at least. They're oddly positioned as well. We have a couple... I mean, this is really odd. Nothing in the main base either. This is a lot of investment here on things that I don't think are quite going to pay off here, because you can just dodge the Spores and Spine. I was microing my heart out with an office mouse and a laptop keyboard and did as best as I could. I think this is a bad defense. And you mentioned the Spores and Spines multiple times as something, you know, oh, my opponent went for Spores and Spines defensively. What an idiot. And this is kind of true, but it's only idiotic if it doesn't work, you know? Like, if I spend the entire night digging a hole in your front yard and you're seeing that through your Ring doorbell, you know, and then you walk out, and you fall into the hole, that wasn't wasted effort digging that hole, you know, it worked out. You broke your legs, I had a good laugh, uploaded my prank video onto YouTube, millions of views, and I get arrested, so positives all around. But then the hole digging was worth it. However, if you just walk out, you go, oh, I saw this guy on my Ring doorbell camera, 5 hours in advance. I'm just going to walk around it and still get the guy arrested. Then you are the one that wins. So it really depends on how you interact with these Spores and Spines, on whether they are wasted resources or not. You know, you are in control of your own destiny. And, you know, kind of, well... yeah, no, just to control your own destiny. I have nothing else there. Nothing else. Okay, fourth base on the way. This is one of the issues on this map, especially for lower level players. Look at where the creep is right now, right? Look at where the creep is. Where is it? Way too far away. This base should not be allowed to go up. Okay, Spore Spines going down. Now, high tier player could walk around maybe, or you could just take it out and that's fine. This is completely okay. I'm very happy with how you're doing this. I'm not too happy with you shooting the extractor, shooting overlords. I think that focus fire could be a little bit more focused, because right now it was just fire, really, without the focus part. We're gonna get an SCV plus a cancel on the fourth base. Yeah, it's not bad, actually. Yeah, good start for you, for sure. SCV must have been a misrally of some sort. We have a 14 Hydras extra coming in, so it's going to be a pure Hydra start. There's no link speed either, which is cool. Overlord's gonna get taken out. Just started something here. Now starts a bunker. The bunker on the fourth base is kind of like... you know, the gurus that pretend they can stop people running at them with like a force field? You've ever seen those videos? There's some guy running, and then the guru goes, rah, and whoa, they just fall over like that. That's kind of the bunker on the fourth. This only works if the other guy is in on it as well. It only works if the other... This Zerg isn't part of the cult. He's not like, oh no, a bunker. I can't attack the position because there's a bunker. No, it just looks at us like, a bunker? Are you an idiot? I have freaking 15 Hydras. You know, this Zerg is the UFC fighter that knocks out the guru with 2 fat punches in the face. Like some 65-year-old guy going like this. The 25-year-old UFC fighter that has more muscle than the other, you know, more kilos in muscle than the other guy has general kilos. Just gonna knock him out with one fat hook in the face. That's kind of what we saw here as well. Overall, the situation, still fine for the Terran. I'm not a huge fan of adding in more reactors. At this point, because I assume we already... okay, we have 10 barracks. And all of these are going to be capable of pumping Marines at a very high pace. Marines are good against Hydras, but you do need to have a lot of Marines. And ideally, you are also already transitioning into something else. Like if someone is investing this much into Hydras, most of the time, there's going to be lurkers eventually. Most of the time, actually, there's already Banes with it as well. So having some Marauders, having some tanks is generally a good play as well. Having a couple of freaking tanks. But when you're a Terran player, you kind of have to think like a bully. And not just because you're insecure in your own abilities, but also because Terrans kind of play like bullies. The way you do it is you scream some verbal abuse with your Marines at the Zerg, you clear some creep tumors, poop in their shoes, and then you run away back to your bigger brother. Your bigger brother, in this case, being the tank or mines. Now, if you're playing against Hydra compositions, your bigger brother really should be the tank, because the mine gets outranged by the Hydralisk, and thus isn't as much as a big brother. It's like a smaller brother, really, which the Hydra is also fine against. So I would recommend getting tanks a little bit earlier. On top of that, Marines, you need to get out of them at some point, which is why usually barracks 5, 6, 7, and 8... No, sorry, barracks 6, 7, and 8 will turn into barracks with a tech lab. That way you can start adding in marauders for a bit more tanking, a little bit more damage against the lurkers, a little bit more damage against potential buildings as well. These mines did pretty well, by the way, despite the Hydra range. And also the ability to build ghosts later on, right? Having those tech labs ready. So pure Marine is kind of a tempo play. It's like, I'm going to put on a lot of pressure for a very long time. And if I can kill my opponent, that's great. If I can continuously trade, that's great. But if your opponent gets maxed out and you have 75 Marines, that is not usually a good situation to be in, okay? And one thing that I always struggle with, or that always hurts my soul a little bit when I watch it, is that Terran players at lower levels seem to have the anticipational ability of a duck, you know? Like they eat a lot of bread in the summer. The people are happy feeding the ducks. But then when it starts freezing, what now, duck? Huh? Maybe you should have saved some nuts like the squirrel, you idiot. Because now you're just gonna die. You know, the lakes start freezing, or the ponds, they're gonna be cold. No plan, huh? And that's the case with Terrans as well. Like, they're living in the moment with their Marines, you know? They're eating the bread that they're being fed. And they start collecting some nuts right now before it's too late. Because the lurkers right now are popping out. And what are we doing? We're popping 20 Marines out at a time from our 15 barracks, all with reactors. And at this point, our trades are not going to be as cost efficient anymore. Really, the moment that lurkers arrive on the field. And we have a lot of lurkers. So right now, you know, this is the pond freezing over. This is, ooh, lurkers. Ooh, how am I gonna feed my kids? You know, that's what he's thinking about. It's like, oh yeah, liberators. Because he has a starport ready. If he had Tech Lab ready, he could at least start like transitional marauders. Could throw down a Ghost Academy, and that, bam, transition is going to be fast as hell. This is also kind of the bronze to GMification of StarCraft 2. These are people that learned by watching bronze to GM videos of high-level players that are just massing one unit and A moving across the map. It's like, yeah, I'm sure that works really well if you have the mechanical skills of a Grandmaster player, but if you don't, then playing mass Marines, you know, it's probably better to get a real unit composition. StarCraft is a strategy game. It would be nice to employ some strategy, and strategy also includes anticipating to the future, and you haven't really done that. So I love this drop. I think this is an absolutely brilliant drop, okay? I'm actually going to show this drop again because I love it so much. I think this is such a genius play, because this is someone that realizes right here, right? He realized in this middle fight, he's like, oh my god, there's lurkers. I have nothing to deal with these lurkers. This is my mistake. I made a blunder, an error. I failed to anticipate. What am I going to do? I'm going to win time by throwing some of my poorly trading units into my opponent's main base. Hopefully I can get a good trade with that. But even if I can't, the fight is as far away from my base as possible. So I'm going to be winning time. I'm going to force on burrows on these lurkers here, maybe creating a more dynamic game as well. So this is, you know, this is a really good move. This movement is very good. He even paid attention, flew away from the spines, flew away from the spore as well. Then gets a good position here on top of the ramp. This is actually a phenomenal trade. I freaking love this. I think this is such a genius play. Now, it's really important that behind all of this, you're trading these Marines that you're trading out in for something better. You know, you can't throw away your entire army and say, okay, I'm just going to build 20 more Marines. Right now, a better army should come in its place. That might be a little bit of an issue because we have so many reactors out. Like, how many barracks with tech labs do we have? I mean, we have a couple. We have 4 at least. 1, 2, 3. I think we have 1 in the main somewhere. Yeah, 4. So we could be building Marauders. We're not quite doing that yet. We're not really producing a whole lot of anything, if I'm being honest. Okay, here we go. 50 Marines. This is the standard response of bad Terran players when they see that they're not maxed out. They panic. They go like, oh no, I need something to fill up my supply back to 200. Let me build 20 more Marines, which will insta-die against lurkers. It's like, it's okay to float a little bit of cash. It's okay to not be maxed out if you're waiting to get into a better unit composition, you know? As long as you're putting on pressure, it doesn't matter so much that you're losing, not having these extra 15 Marines, you know? Much rather have you had a better army later on than a very big but mediocre army right now. Liberators here are being sieged up, pretty decent positions. With advanced ballistics, maybe you can even do something. I'd love to see another drop into the main base. I am also loving, by the way, the continuous expanding here out of the Terran player. This is actually quite good. You have a very heavy focus on eco, maybe too heavy. 94 workers is really quite a lot. I'm not a huge fan of this attack, personally. This is not the bully mindset so much. This is the, let me run in, but you're weak, you have Marines. You really need to... You know, they kind of start living the bully mindset. Like you poke and then you run away when the guy comes chasing you, okay? Back to the bigger brother, in this case the Liberators. But you also need to protect the bigger brother because they only, you know, they have these things on that horses have as well. Like blinders, is that what you call them? Horse blinders? You can only see in one direction and that's this ramp. Yeah, this is not good because you can't attack into this. You just can't. Lurkers are too powerful. And now I'm expecting another panic response here. We're 160 supply. You're building Liberators. It's like, I'm losing a lot of supply. What can I build to deal with the Lurkers more efficiently? Boom. Yeah, there we go. See? 17 more Marines. This is because you're not thinking. You're not thinking. You're not anticipating. You're not seeing what you need right now. You're not making clear decisions. And this actually saddens me quite a bit because you have definitely outplayed your opponent in this game. For the first 15 minutes or so, for 12, 13 minutes. Like you played better mechanically. Your movement was very solid. But now you're presented with an army that is superior to yours. Significantly superior. Right? There's so many Lurkers here. And you have nothing that deals well with Lurkers except a couple of Liberators. But they take a long time to deal with Lurkers. So by the time you're chewing through this, like your entire 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th base are going to be taken out already by the Hydras. You also need to scan, by the way. He's building a Raven. Oh, not a bad call. Not a great call either. This is also why usually, by the way, we see after like the 5th base, like 3-4 extra orbital commands being set up. Just so you have those scans available in case of Lurkers. And also just in general, it's nice to have scans. See where your opponent is coming from. If you have too little scans, like this type of stuff is really frustrating. We have no more medevacts here either. Another really cool thing that is not being done here is base trading when you're under pressure with a worse army. Because worse armies at fighting are often quite okay at base trading. Like Marines can definitely, you know, they can take out a base. They can maybe go in here to kill something. But they're practically useless dealing with more than 3 Lurkers. So you just defend with the Liberators and you send the Marines across the map to try and deal some damage, you know, put on pressure on your opponent. If you're not doing that, it can be really tough. This actually is an okay fight, by the way. If you siege up the Liberators, this might even be a winning fight. If you siege up the Liberators. You didn't siege up the Liberators. That was frustrating to watch because I actually think that could have been a really good fight. We still have 1 Lurker remaining as well. Well, we have a lot of Lurkers remaining, but just 1 Lurker over here in this army. Hydras are going to be moving in forward. We still have the lunge. Do we have the lunge? The nanomuscular swell? Oh yeah, it's been researched. 9 more Liberators, which is not bad, but, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of tanks in there either. Especially because GNO money, most of the time, doesn't really siege up the Liberators in appropriate positions, or doesn't siege them up really whatsoever at all. Gonna have this Lurker now shooting this planetary. What's going on over here? Reactor being taken out. I mean, this is really sad because I mentioned it before already. It's so hard for Zerg to take a 5th base and you actually denied that 5th base forever. But then your resource loss are just down 6k. So it's nice that you've outmined your opponent, but you're just not killing anything here. Like you really are not. Now we don't even have a scan. This is the most classic story of Terran versus Zerg. The most classic story in StarCraft 2, really. I see this frequently. This Lurker is not fighting. I think he's on hold position or hold fire, whatever it's called. Yeah, I really dislike it when I see this type of stuff. Because this is such an easy fix as well, right? You have someone that's mechanically quite skilled. You have someone that movement-wise is quite proper as well. As an okay build order, decent execution on everything. But just forgot about a very important little thing, is that StarCraft 2 is a strategy game. If your strategy is building pure Marine for the entirety of the game, and the other dude is building lurkers, you know, you're gonna have a rough time. Like, these are the same guys that send me a replay where they walk into 12 storms with 85 marines. They go, oh, storm is pretty strong. It's like, yeah. Obviously, it's pretty freaking strong, mate. Like, you only build marines. Ever heard of the Ghost as a unit or a Marauder? Like, how many Marauders did he build? He built 4 Marauders in the entirety of this game. 250 marines. 215 marines. Yeah, now you're gonna die. Once again, Liberator's not sieging up. Liberators by themselves, not even a bad choice, by the way. The fact that you don't siege him up, that's what makes him bad here. You know, you're not using them. You're not using them whatsoever. This game's uber over. It's time to leave, brother. GG, well played. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of these things where you can do a lot of things right in life, but if you do one thing really wrong, it doesn't matter, you know? Now, imagine you're in a relationship, okay? You bring flowers, you give compliments, you know, have good communication, you know, chemistry, physical as well as mental chemistry, you know? All of that is going well, but then once every week, you burn down your own house. You know, that is potentially a deal breaker for this relationship. And every time, you know, it mentions like, could you maybe stop burning down our house every single week? You just go, what are you on about? Our relationship is so good. You're going to break up over this? It's like, yeah, that is really bad to do. You shouldn't be burning down your own house. It's the same here. You shouldn't be building pure marine against a guy that's popping out lurkers. The best thing is that it was so obvious as well. You have a guy that's building freaking 40 Hydras. It's like, oh, I wonder what he's going to do with the Hydras. It's like, well, probably going to turn a couple into lurkers at some point, unless he has brain damage. So, you know, the information is right there for you. It's not like this is not like a surprise party of lurkers, you know, showing up in your house. Ta-da! It's like, no. Like, he communicated this clearly to you through many clues in the game, and you just, you know, you didn't read in between the lines. Well, not even in between the lines. You just didn't read at all. Maybe you should learn how to read. So yeah, is this imbalanced? No. Do you suck? Yeah, you do suck. I mean, your gameplay is actually quite high level, but you're missing one key ingredient there, and that's the ability to read and think. Pretty key ingredient. So yeah, you suck. It's going to be it for me today, my dear friends. I hope you all enjoyed this phenomenal episode of Is it IMBA or do I suck? If you did, don't forget to smash the like button. Hit subscribe as well on this channel. It's important for all of you, really. You know, we're living in dark times. And yeah, subscribing to my YouTube channel is not going to change that. But it does help me personally. And that's what I really care about. So I love you all equally, platonically, as friends. Bye-bye.